Hey everyone, welcome to Wishing Well Barbecue. I'm Dustin Wells, and today we're going to do a smoked chicken noodle soup. Let's do it. It is really cold outside, and I tell you what, there's no better way to warm up than making a delicious smoked chicken noodle soup. This soup is going to be packed with all kinds of really amazing flavors and some vegetables. It's going to be delicious. Hey, let me show you what we got to do to make this smoked chicken noodle soup. I went to my local grocery store and I picked up this 5.5 pound chicken. And the first thing I want to do to prepare it is I want to spatchcock. And I'm going to do that by taking my kitchen shears and cutting out the backbone. This is going to help it cook more evenly. Once I've removed the backbone, I just want to take my knife and press down on the back side of the breast so that way I can open this chicken up and lay it down completely flat. Then I'm going to use my Spaceman knife to cut off any extra fat that I have on this chicken. I'm going to go ahead and fold these wings back so that way they're out of the way, and I'm going to use a paper towel to pat the skin dry. Then I want to go ahead and take my fingers and run it under the skin and disconnect it. That way I can get access to the meat. I'm going to do this on the breast, the thighs, and the legs. Then I'm going to use my Wishing Well Barbecue Texas Cowboy Rub, and I'm going to season the breast, the thighs, and the legs under the skin. Once I've got all of the meat seasoned, I'm going to go ahead and take this skin and pull it back up, pat it dry, and then I'm going to season the back side of this chicken as well. Then I'm going to hit the skin with a little bit of cooking oil and top it off with that Texas Cowboy Rub as well. And now that we've got this chicken prepared, we're ready to throw it on the smoker, so let's do it. Today, I'm cooking on my Oklahoma Joe offset smoker, and I'm going to be using a combination of lump charcoal and hickory wood. I'm going to be using my propane torch to start this fire today, and I want to cook it about 300 degrees. I want to cook at a higher temperature, that way we get a nice crispy skin on this chicken. Let's close it down and let it cook. Hey, while we're letting our chicken cook, let's go inside and cut up these vegetables for our soup. I'm going to start with a medium-sized sweet onion. Cut it in half, peel off the skin, and then slice it into some pretty thin slices, and then put it into a giant mixing bowl. Next, I'm going to take 2 sticks of celery, and I'm going to cut them at angles, and I want to cut those relatively thin as well. Lastly, I'm going to take 2 carrot sticks, and I'm going to peel the outside layer, and then I'm going to slice them at an angle into relatively thin slices as well. Then I want to take these vegetables and I want to put them in a mixing bowl and put them in the fridge until we're ready to use them. Alright, we've had our chicken on for about 2 hours, and let's just check it out. This chicken is really starting to look awesome. The skin is nice and crispy, and you know this is packed full of flavor. We're sitting at about an internal temperature of 126 degrees. So now is the perfect time to go inside and start getting our broth ready for the soup while this chicken finishes up. Let's get inside and get started. I've got a large stock pot on medium heat, and I'm going to put in 2 tablespoons of butter. I'm going to cook the vegetables down until they start to sweat and get soft. Once they reach the desired texture, I'm going to add 4 of the 32-ounce containers of chicken broth. Hey, this is the best part. This is when your house is really going to start smelling good. I'm going to give this mixture a nice stir, and then I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons of my Texas Cowboy Rub. Once I've seasoned it up, I'm going to put the lid on it and let it keep cooking down while we finish this chicken. Alright, we've had this chicken on for a total of 3.5 hours, and just check it out. We're sitting right at 165 degrees in the breast, and we are ready to pull all of the meat off of this chicken, so let's do it. So now we just want to make sure that we cut this chicken apart, pull all of the meat, and we're going to put it in a bowl so that we can mix it in with our soup. I'm going to come in right here between the thigh and the leg first. Look at that. That is so juicy. Now, just a little trick. I want to save this skin. I'm going to move it to the side for now, and I'll tell you exactly what we're going to do with that here in just a second. But let's pull apart this meat. Oh, man, it's just pull apart tender. You know, I got to try a bite of this chicken. Man, that is so good. You could just eat that by itself. Let's get this other thigh here. Thigh and leg. Save the skin. Start pulling apart all of this meat. Now we're ready to get some of this breast here. I'm gonna cut down, cut straight across, save our skin. That by itself just looks incredible. super tender, just pulls right apart. Don't forget to get all this meat down here. This is some of the most tender part of the whole chicken. Pull the skin off. It just pulls right out. Hey, you really have two options when it comes to these wings. You can pull apart all of the meat that's in the wings, or you can be like me, and that's a little Pitmaster snack. Hey, that little piece right there, that's for me. So now, as you can see, I've got all of this skin left over. Now, I took it off separately because once it goes in the soup, it has a tendency to get a little bit mushy and doesn't really have a great bite if it's in really large chunks. I'm gonna stack them all on top of each other, and I'm gonna use a really sharp knife, and I'm just gonna chop through and chop this as fine as I can. I definitely don't want to waste these flavors because the skin really does have an amazing flavor, and that's where a lot of that smoke flavor is too. I've got all of the skin into tiny pieces. Now I'm just going to mix it back into my bowl. All of the meat is mixed together. The skin is in there. The pieces are pretty small, so that's exactly what we're looking for. Hey, let's go inside and finish up this soup. Oh yeah, this soup has had about an hour to simmer, and this smells so good. For my soup, I like to add about 1 pound of wide egg noodles. I'm gonna put that in there, and I'm gonna let it cook down until those noodles are completely done. Once the noodles are done, then I'm gonna add some of that chicken in there. Hey, you can add as much or as little as you want. I go ahead and use the whole thing. I'm gonna give it a nice stir, top it off with some Texas Cowboy rub, and let it simmer for another 15 minutes. All right, I tell you what, this soup looks and smells absolutely delicious, and you know that I've got to take a bite of this to warm up. But hey, before we do, let's talk about what we did to get here. The first thing I did was purchase a 5.5 pound chicken, and I went ahead and spatchcocked that chicken by taking the backbone out. I pulled off the skin so that I could cover that chicken with some seasoning, and then I put the skin back on and topped it off with a little bit more of that Texas Cowboy rub. We put it on the smoker at 300 degrees and let it cook for about 3.5 hours. Inside, we cut up some carrots, onions, celery, and put them in a big stock pot and let them cook down just a little bit, and then covered it with about a gallon of chicken broth. We let that simmer, and we came back outside and cut up our chicken. Then we put that chicken in the soup. We let it sit for about 20 minutes in that broth, and now here we are, and I tell you what, I've got to take a bite. Hey, cheers to you. Cheers to a good cook. Let's take a bite. Oh yeah, look at this. It has the celery, it has the carrots, some onion, chicken. It has everything. I gotta take a bite. That is seriously some of the best chicken noodle soup that I've ever had. Typically, when you make a chicken noodle soup, you're not using smoked chicken, but I'll tell you what, the smokiness really adds an extra depth of flavor. The noodles are cooked perfectly, the broth is seasoned perfectly, everything just works together to make a delicious hot soup. I'll tell you what, you have got to try this recipe. It is going to be a showstopper. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you like what we're doing here on the Wishing Well Barbecue channel, make sure you click that subscribe button below so that you don't miss out on any of the fun. Make sure you also check out all of our other socials, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Hey, and why don't you check out this peach bourbon glazed wings recipe that I've got up here. You're gonna love that one too. Thank you so much again for watching, and as always, we'll see you next time.